My first full-time job was as a dancer with the National Ballet of Canada. And it was a really exciting time. It was during the 70s, so I guess I'm aging myself, in the so-called dance boom. And everyone was kind of excited about ballet. Rudolf Nureyev was performing with us, Eric Brun was working with us, and it was just, we were touring all the time around the world, so it was a fabulous job, straight off. What I love about dancers and people in dance is their humility and their lack of ego. There's just hardly a prima donna amongst us in the dance world. And I think that's partly because the ideal is so difficult to attain. So everyone's really trying to achieve something that's perfect and beautiful, and you never quite get there, or very few times do you get there. And so people are always striving and never feeling too full of themselves because they always know that there's more work to be done. One of those would be a woman named Jane Herman, who was a ballet or dance presenter. She still lives in New York. She's a fabulous apartment right on Central Park West, and she's just known for being really kind of opinionated and strong-minded and not afraid to say what she thinks, and lots of swear words, and she was always a bit of a mentor to me. And then the great Danish dancer Eric Brun, who really believed in me from the beginning. Even when I was still a dancer, he would always pick me out and give me responsibilities that began to move me into the business side of the arts. And he was this great artistic personality, a little bit more like me, I guess. Not quite such an out there personality, but very, very well known. And he really put me on the map in a way. Well, I grew up in Japan, so I do speak Japanese, and I went to Japanese public school. And I think that maybe informed some of that calmness I have, maybe, or ability or desire to work collaboratively, because it's very much a teamwork society. I have lived in London, where I went to the Royal Ballet School, and that made me very close to Europe, so I'm very comfortable in London and Europe. And then, of course, I had a long period in Canada, where I had probably the bulk of my career was in Canada, associated in one way or another with the National Ballet of Canada, dancer, artistic director, executive director. And then I had an adventure in the US. I think most Canadians want to spend a bit of time in the US because it's this great big neighbor, maybe like New Zealanders like to come to Australia, just like that. And so I had 5 years in Boston, just a great city, and then here in Australia now. Well, that's a really interesting question for somebody in the performing arts, because in a way, we are the entertainment. We're what people do when they have time off. And so it's very difficult to separate yourself from that, because you enjoy it, and then you find yourself going to your own shows, and then you find yourself going to other people's shows, and then you get invited to new creations. And then before you know it, your whole life is either your home life or the performing arts. And so I think a lot of us don't have a huge number of other interests, because in a way we are the show. But I don't regret that, because it's such a multifaceted, creative, innovative field, and you can always be learning something from other people's shows. I must say I like going to other people's shows because I can relax, and I don't have to be on, tender hooks wondering if it's going to go well. I just sit back and think, well, whatever. This is nice. I think my success meaning, and I'm defining that as longevity in the arts field, is that I was always curious and always wanted to learn something. So I can see now dancers around me who are really focused on just their own dancing. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's a very challenging field, and you should pay attention to it. But I was always that one looking about, asking, well, I wonder why the lights are up there, and I wonder why the tour was scheduled in this way, and I wonder how much it costs to put a production together. So I think I was always asking questions and always had a bit broader view of what was going on around me. And I think that has meant that I've had a little bit of a longer life in the arts.